The bridge of the Crithian Imperial Command Station was quiet, except for the soft beeping of computer systems. Commander Velasque stood tall with his forearms crossed behind his back. He was watching the screens that showed empty space around the station. Everything looked normal. Everything looked peaceful. For 300 years, the Crithian Empire had controlled this part of the galaxy. No one ever challenged them. No one ever dared. Officer Thelmar sat at his console checking the normal patrol reports. His job was boring most days. Ships came and went. Traders brought goods. Nothing ever happened that was interesting. But today would be different. "Commander, I have something on sensors," Thelmar said. His voice was calm, but there was confusion in it. "There is a ship entering our space." Velasque barely looked up from his reports. "What kind of ship?" "I do not know, sir. The computer does not recognize it. The signature is not in our database now." Velasque paid attention. He walked over to Thelmar's station and looked at the screen. In 300 years of conquering and exploring, every species that could travel in space had been recorded. Every ship design was known. An unknown ship was impossible. "It could not happen. Show me," Velasque ordered. The main view screen changed to show the unknown vessel. Velasque felt his blood turn cold. The ship was huge. It was as big as their largest battle cruisers. Maybe bigger, but the design was completely different from anything he had ever seen. Sharp corners, aggressive lines, dozens of weapon ports covering the hull like the eyes of a spider. The ship was painted dark gray with white letters on the side. The letters spelled out Ewan's Valiant. "Send them a message," Velasque said. His voice was steady, but inside he felt worried. "Open a channel." "Channel open, Commander." Velasque spoke clearly and with authority. "Unknown vessel, you have entered Crithian space. This space belongs to the Crithian Empire. You must identify yourself right now or we will destroy you." There was a moment of silence. Then a voice came through the speakers. The universal translator worked on it for a second, then made it clear. The voice was calm, almost friendly, like the person speaking was talking about the weather. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Nations Starship Valiant. We are just passing through your space. We do not want any trouble." Velasque felt shock run through his body. Humans. The galaxy had heard stories about humans. They were a young species from a small system far away. They had only learned to travel faster than light 50 years ago. The report said they were primitives, barely able to reach their own neighboring stars. They should not have ships like this. They should not be here. "Captain Morrison, you will turn off your weapons and let us board your ship. If you do not, we will open fire and destroy you." Another pause. Then Morrison spoke again. This time Velasque heard something new in his voice. It sounded like the human was smiling. Like he found this funny. "I'm afraid we cannot do that. We are on a diplomatic mission to the Zephyran Republic. We will be out of your space in 6 hours. Velasque felt anger rise in his chest. The Zephyran Republic is under Crithian protection. No ships are allowed there without permission. "Well, that is interesting," Morrison said. "The Zephyran sent us a distress call 3 days ago. They said something about forced conscription. Something about you taking their people to work in mines against their will. That does not sound like protection to me." Velasque's mandibles clicked together. This was an insult. A challenge. No one spoke to the Crithian Empire this way. "You have 10 seconds to obey our orders, human. After that, we will fire on you and destroy your ship." "Captain, they are charging weapons," came a female voice from the human ship. She sounded more annoyed than scared. Morrison sighed loudly over the communication channel. "All right, Commander Velasque. I am going to give you one chance. Stand down your weapons. We do not want to fight. But if you force us to fight, you are going to lose. You are going to lose very badly." Velasque laughed. It was a harsh clicking sound. "You face 4 battle cruisers. You face 6 destroyers. You face a command station with enough weapons to level a planet. What can one human ship do against all of this?" Morrison's voice became quiet. "I guess we are about to find out." Valiant out. The communication went dead. Velasque turned to his weapons officer. "All ships prepare to fire." "Destroy that vessel!" The Crithian fleet opened fire all at once. Plasma cannons shot bright streams of energy through space. Particle beams lanced forward like spears of light. Fusion torpedoes rocketed toward the human ship, leaving trails of fire behind them. It was enough power to destroy a small moon. It was enough to vaporize any normal ship. The human ship did not even try to dodge. On the Valiant's bridge, Lieutenant Amy Rogers watched her screens calmly. Shields holding at 98%, she reported. Should we return fire, Captain? Jake Morrison leaned back in his chair. He watched the tactical display showing the Crithian weapons bouncing off his ship's shields like rain off a window. Target their weapons only. I want them disabled, not destroyed. Use the railguns. Let's save the good stuff for if we need it later. Yes, sir. Targeting solution locked. The Valiant's hull opened in 12 places. Electromagnetic rail launchers appeared. These weapons fired solid metal slugs. Each slug weighed several tons. The railguns accelerated them to nearly the speed of light in less than a second. The Crithians had never seen weapons like this. Their shields were designed to stop energy weapons, lasers, plasma, particle beams, but solid metal moving at incredible speed went right through their shields like they were not even there. The first Crithian battlecruiser lost all its forward weapons in one shot. Chunks of metal flew off into space. The second battlecruiser had its engines blown apart. It began to spin slowly, powerless. The smaller destroyers had it even worse. The railgun slugs tore through their hulls like paper. Atmosphere vented into space. Systems exploded. Within 3 minutes, every ship in the Crithian fleet was disabled and drifting. On the command station, alarms were ringing everywhere. Officers were shouting. Screens showed damage reports from all the ships. Shields are useless against those weapons. Battlecruiser Hammer of Justice is losing atmosphere. We cannot get a target lock. The human ship is too fast. Velasque watched his fleet being torn apart. The human ship moved with perfect precision. Every shot hit exactly where it was aimed. Missiles fired at it were shot down by point defense systems. Torpedoes were destroyed before they got close. It was like watching a master fighter destroy children. It was embarrassing. It was terrifying. Stop firing. Stop firing! Velasque shouted. The Crithian ship stopped shooting immediately. The human ship also stopped. Well? Morrison's voice came over the speakers again. Had enough? Velasque's pride wanted him to keep fighting, but his brain knew better. You have committed an act of war against the Crithian Empire. Our fleets will hunt you across the galaxy. Commander, let me explain something, Morrison said. Now his voice was hard. Like iron. Humanity spent 10,000 years learning how to kill each other. We fought wars that turned oceans to steam. We built weapons that could crack planets. We made shields that could survive inside stars. We did all this to each other for thousands of years until we finally learned to stop fighting ourselves. He paused. The galaxy thinks we are weak because we are new here. That is fine. But you need to understand something. We did not come to space because we needed protection. We came because we were tired of being alone. But if empires like yours think you can push us around, you will learn a very hard lesson. What lesson? Velasque asked quietly. That humanity does not start fights, but we always finish them, Morrison continued. Now, you are going to send a message to your leaders. Tell them the United Nations recognizes the Zephyrin Republic as independent. Tell them all Crithian forces must leave Zephyrin space within 24 hours. Tell them if they have a problem with this, they can talk to the rest of our fleet. The rest of your fleet? Velasque felt cold fear run through him. Commander, the Valiant is just a scout ship. A small one. We have 73 warships in this sector. Did you think we came here with just one ship? Before Velasque could answer, new contacts appeared on sensors. Jump signatures. Dozens of them. Human warships appearing all around the sector. Each one was as large and deadly looking as the Valiant. They appeared out of faster-than-light travel like ghosts becoming solid. Message delivered, Commander, Morrison said. Valiant out. And Commander, next time you threaten to destroy a human ship, you better bring more than 4 battlecruisers. The UNS Valiant turned smoothly and began moving toward Zephyrin space. The other human warships fell into formation around it like an honor guard. The Crithian fleet was left behind, floating in space, broken but alive. On the command station, Velasque slowly sat down in his command chair. In 300 years, no one had beaten the Crithian Empire like this. No one had dared to challenge them. No one had humiliated them so completely. Get me a priority channel to the homeworld, he said quietly. High Command needs to know what happened here. They need to know the truth. What should I tell them, Commander? His communication officer asked. Velasque looked at the retreating human fleet on his screen. 74 warships moving together with perfect coordination, and somewhere out there were more. How many more? Hundreds? Thousands? Tell them we just... The Grand Council chamber of the Crithian Empire was carved from a single black mountain. Its walls had names written on them. Thousands of names. Each name was a world that the Empire had conquered. The chamber was huge and dark and meant to make visitors feel small. 15 council members sat in high chairs looking down at anyone who stood before them. These 15 beings controlled hundreds of worlds and trillions of lives. Today those 15 faces showed something rare. Fear. 4 battlecruisers disabled in 3 minutes, Counselor Varric said slowly. He could not believe what he was saying. By 1 human scout ship, Supreme Commander Thrace stood in the center of the chamber. He was a military leader with decorations covering his uniform. But today he looked tired. Today he looked old. The recordings do not lie, Counselor. We watched it happen. Their weapons are far ahead of ours. They used solid metal projectiles that went straight through our shields. Our shields did nothing to stop them. Our analysis shows their ship armor is made from materials we have never seen before. How is this possible? Counselor Selene demanded. Her scales changed color with her anger. Our intelligence said humans barely had basic space travel. They should be hundreds of years away from this technology. We were wrong about them, Thrace admitted. Very wrong. Humans did not develop technology the normal way. While other species moved forward slowly through the standard stages, humans took a different path. He activated a hologram. Images appeared showing Earth's history. Ancient battles with swords, wars with guns and tanks, nuclear explosions, then finally sleek warships floating in space. They spent thousands of years in constant war, Thrace explained. Not wars to conquer others. Wars to survive against each other. They made weapons faster and faster because their lives depended on it. By the time they reached space, they already had weapons that could destroy their own planet many times over. Then they are insane, Counselor Krell said loudly. Crazy. We should destroy them before they become a bigger threat. With respect, Counselor, I think it is too late for that, said a new voice. Everyone turned to look. Admiral Helen Wright stepped forward from where she had been standing quietly in the gallery. She was the human ambassador. Her simple uniform looked plain compared to the fancy robes the counselors wore. But she walked with confidence. Ambassador Wright, Varric said coldly. I did not know you were here. Your security is good, Counselor, but not perfect, Helen replied with a small smile. I think we need to talk honestly about what happened at the Zephyrin border. Your ship attacked Imperial forces without reason. Your forces threatened to destroy a diplomatic vessel. Your forces fired first, Helen said firmly. Captain Morrison showed great restraint. He could have destroyed your entire fleet. He chose not to. A mistake he will regret, Krell growled. Helen's expression became hard. Counselor, let me be very clear. The United Nations does not want war with the Crithian Empire. We came to space looking for friends, looking for knowledge and trade. But we will not stand by while you hurt innocent species like the Zephyrins. The Zephyrins are under our protection. The Zephyrins sent us a message begging for help against their protectors, Helen said sharply. We have proof of forced labor, proof of you taking their resources, proof of you forcing their people into your military. You are not protecting them. You are using them. The chamber became silent. Some counselors looked uncomfortable. They knew the truth of her words. Finally, Varric spoke. Even if what you say is true, Ambassador, you cannot believe that humanity can fight the entire Crithian Empire. We have thousands of warships. We have millions of soldiers. We control hundreds of worlds. Helen pulled out a small data pad and tossed it onto the council table. That contains a complete list of the United Nations Deep Space Fleet. I am sharing it as a sign of good faith. Take a look. Thrace picked up the pad. His eyes scanned the information. His expression changed from confident to worried to horrified. This cannot be right. That list is 2 months old, actually, Helen said. We have built 50 more ships since then. 2,000 warships, Thrace whispered. Each one as powerful as the Valiant. The Valiant is a Ranger-class scout ship, Helen corrected him. It is one of our smallest combat vessels. Our actual battleships are 3 times larger. Each one carries enough weapons to destroy all life on a planet's surface in less than an hour. The council chamber erupted in shocked voices. Counselors talked over each other. Some stood up from their chairs. Helen waited for them to quiet down. Then she continued. But here is what you need to understand. We do not want to use those ships. Humanity has seen enough war. We know what it costs, what it takes from you, what it turns you into. We came to the stars hoping to be better than we were. She looked around the chamber, meeting each counselor's eyes. So here is what will happen. The Crithian Empire will leave Zephyrin space. You will stop all exploitation in your protectorates. You will recognize the independence of any species that asks for it. And if we refuse, Krell demanded, then you will learn why every species in this galaxy should be grateful that humanity spent 10,000 years learning to fight. Helen said quietly, because we learned lessons no one else knows. And if we are forced to teach those lessons, the galaxy will never be the same. Supreme Commander Thrace set down the datapad carefully. He had read enough. He had seen enough numbers. Ambassador, I believe we need a formal diplomatic meeting. Very soon, Helen nodded. I think that is wise, Commander. The United Nations does not want to rule the galaxy. We want partnership, but we will have justice for species like the Zephyrins, one way or another. As Helen turned and walked out of the chamber, Counselor Varric looked at his colleagues. His voice was quiet. What do we do? We negotiate, Thrace said immediately. We are not ready for war with humanity. We might never be ready. Slowly, the other counselors nodded. Some looked angry. Some looked afraid. But they all understood the truth. For the first time in 300 years, the Crithian Empire had found something it could not conquer. In a small office near the council chamber, 3 junior counselors met in secret. They were younger than the High Command. They had different ideas. We cannot just surrender, one said. His name was Drax. The Empire has never bowed to anyone. What choice do we have? Another replied. Her name was Sira. You saw the numbers. 2,000 warships, maybe more by now. Numbers can be wrong, Drax insisted. This could be a bluff. Humans could be lying to scare us. The third counselor, an old veteran named Court, shook his head. Commander Velasquez's report was clear. 1 small scout ship destroyed 4 battlecruisers in minutes. If that is their small ship, what can their large ships do? So we just accept this? We let these newcomers dictate terms to us? We adapt, Court said firmly. The Empire has survived for 300 years because we were the strongest. Now we are not. So we must be smart instead. We negotiate. We make peace. We learn from them. And maybe in time we find a way to become strong again. Drax did not look happy, but he nodded slowly. The others will not accept this easily. Many will want to fight. Then we must convince them that fighting is suicide, Sira said. We must show them that cooperation is the only path forward. Back in the main chamber, the High Command was coming to the same conclusion. Counselor Varric addressed the group. We will send a formal response to the human ambassador. We will agree to negotiations. We will discuss the Zephyron situation. We are showing weakness, Krell protested. We are showing wisdom, Varric corrected. There is no shame in recognizing when you are outmatched. Our ancestors built this empire through strength. We will preserve it through intelligence. Supreme Commander Thrace pulled up star maps on the holographic display. We need to understand human territory better. Where are they based? How far do their supply lines extend? What are their weak points? Is that not planning for war? Another counselor asked. That is planning for survival, Thrace replied. We hope for peace, but we must understand our potential enemy, or our potential ally. The discussion continued for hours. Plans were made. Strategies were discussed. Messages were drafted and redrafted. By the end of the day, a formal invitation had been sent to the United Nations requesting a summit to discuss mutual concerns and potential cooperation. In her quarters, Helen Wright received the message and smiled. This was what they had hoped for. Humanity had come to the stars with overwhelming military force, yes, but the goal was never conquest. The goal was to establish themselves as equals, as beings who could not be pushed around or ignored. She recorded a response accepting the invitation. Then she sent a private message to Captain Morrison and the fleet commanders. Phase 1 complete. They are willing to talk. Maintain defensive positions but do not provoke. We are moving to diplomacy now. Morrison's reply came quickly. Understood. The fleet is ready for whatever comes next. Helen looked out the window of her quarters at the Crithian homeworld below. It was a beautiful planet, purple and blue with white clouds. Billions of beings lived down there. They had built an empire that lasted centuries. They had achieved greatness by their own standards, but empires that ruled through fear and force always fell eventually. History had taught humanity that lesson over and over. The planet Ethel was beautiful from space. Blue oceans covered most of the surface. Green continents held forests and grasslands. White clouds drifted peacefully across the sky. It was a perfect world, or it had been once. Now huge scars cut across the southern continent, strip mines, giant holes where the Crithians had dug up metals and minerals. The wounds in the planet's surface could be seen from orbit. Prime Minister Alara stood on the balcony of the Capitol building. She was looking up at the sky. Somewhere up there, 20 human warships were in orbit. They had arrived 3 days ago, giant metal ships that hung in space like guardian angels, or maybe like vengeful gods. Alara did not know which yet. She was afraid to hope. Hope had hurt her people too many times before. Prime Minister, the humans want to meet with you, her aide Torin said nervously. He was young and scared. Most Zephrans were scared these days. Send them in. Captain Jake Morrison entered with 3 other officers. One was Lieutenant Amy Rogers. The others Alara did not know. Unlike the tall Crithians who had ruled over Zephrons for 20 years, the humans were smaller. Closer to Zephran size, they did not loom over her. They did not try to intimidate with their size, but there was something in their eyes, something intense, something that made Alara think these were dangerous people. Prime Minister Alara, Morrison said. He nodded his head respectfully. Thank you for meeting with us. Captain Morrison, your arrival has complicated things for us. I imagine so. The Crithians are not happy we are here. They sent 17 warships to orbit. They are demanding you leave immediately. They say they will destroy you if you stay. Alara's voice shook a little. Captain, I do not want my world to become a battlefield. Maybe it would be better if you just left. Prime Minister, Morrison said gently, how many of your people have died in the Crithian mines? Alara stopped talking. Her eyes looked down at the floor. How many have been taken into their military and never come home? How many children have grown up without parents because the Crithians needed workers? Thousands, Alara whispered. Maybe tens of thousands. We stopped counting years ago. Then your world is already a battlefield, Morrison said. It has just been a one-sided battle until now. We are here to even the odds, but they have 17 warships and we have 20. Plus we have Commander Patricia Hayes commanding the UNS Thunder. She's very good at her job. As if his words made it happen, something new appeared in orbit. The UNS Thunder moved into position above the Crithian fleet. It was enormous. It made the Crithian battlecruisers look like toys. The ship was nearly a kilometer long. Weapons covered every surface. Power readings from it were off the scale. On the Crithian flagship Eternal Dominion, Fleet Commander Tarkesh watched the human battleship appear. He felt his hearts beat faster with fear. What is that thing? Reading massive power levels, Commander, his sensor officer said. His voice was shaking. That ship has more firepower than our entire fleet combined. Tarkesh had received his orders from High Command. Force the humans to leave. If they refuse, destroy them. But looking at that massive warship, he wondered if High Command really understood what they were facing. This is Fleet Commander Tarkesh of the Crithian Imperial Navy. Human fleet, you are ordered to leave Zephran space immediately, Commander Patricia Hayes replied. Her voice was sharp and clear. Negative, Commander. The Zephran Republic requested our help. We are staying. The Zephran Republic is under Crithian protection. Your presence here violates our sovereignty. Your protection looks like occupation from where I sit, Commander. I have data showing forced labor camps, strip mining operations, military conscription. That is not protection. That is exploitation. Tarkesh felt his options disappearing. If you do not leave, we will open fire. Commander Tarkesh, let me be very clear, Patricia said. Her tone became hard as steel. If you fire on my fleet, I will take that as a declaration of war against the United Nations. My orders are to eliminate all hostile forces in this system. Then I will proceed to your nearest military base. From there, things escalate fast. You are bluffing. You cannot fight the entire empire, cannot I? Patricia's voice had dark humor in it now. Commander, I have 46 warships within 3 hours of this position. Behind them are 200 more. Behind them, well, humanity builds ships faster than you can count them. So here's what will happen. You will leave Zephran space. You will release all Zephran prisoners. You will formally recognize Zephran independence. I do not have the authority to make those decisions. Then contact someone who does. You have 1 hour. The communication cut off. Tarkesh immediately opened a priority channel to High Command. He explained the situation. He described the massive human battleship. He told them about the threats. The response came back quickly. Withdraw. The negotiations with the human ambassador made it clear this was a fight they could not win. 53 minutes later, the Crithian fleet began pulling back from Zephyrin orbit. On the surface, Prime Minister Ilara watched through her window as the Crithian vessels left. Tears ran down her face. She could not stop them. For 20 years she had watched those ships in her sky. 20 years of oppression. 20 years of her people being taken. 20 years of having no hope. And now they were leaving. Just like that. Behind her, Captain Morrison stood quietly. He did not speak. He let her have this moment. Why? Ilara finally asked. She turned to face him. Why would you do this for us? You do not know us. We have nothing to offer you. No resources you need. No technology you want. Why? Morrison was quiet for a moment. He seemed to be thinking about how to answer. A long time ago, my people were divided. We fought each other for centuries. We killed each other over land, resources, ideas. We nearly destroyed ourselves, but eventually we learned something important. He paused. We learned that our greatest strength was not in dominating others. It was in protecting those who could not protect themselves. We learned that real power comes from helping people, not hurting them. He looked at her directly. The United Nations was founded on a simple idea. All sentient beings have the right to control their own destiny, free from tyranny, free from oppression. The Zephyron sent us a distress call. We answered. It is as simple as that. What happens now? Ilara asked. The Crithians will not forget this. They will not forgive. Now you rebuild, Morrison said. We will help if you want us to. But this is your world, your future, your choice. We are just here to make sure you get the chance to shape it yourself. Ilara looked out the window again. The last Crithian ship was jumping to faster than light travel, leaving Zephyrin space for the first time in 20 years. We will need help, she admitted. The Crithians took so much. Our infrastructure is damaged. Our people are traumatized. Many are still in Crithian space as prisoners or workers. We will get them back, Morrison promised. That is part of the deal. All Zephyrin citizens return home. The Crithians are being told this right now. And if they refuse, Morrison smiled. It was not a happy smile. Then Commander Hayes will explain the consequences to them. Very clearly, over the next week things moved fast. The Crithians, under pressure from both the human fleet and their own high command's orders, began releasing Zephyrin prisoners. Ships arrived carrying hundreds, then thousands of Zephyrons who had been taken over the years. Families were reunited. Children saw parents they barely remembered. Old people came home to find their communities still standing, still waiting for them. Human engineers arrived to help repair the damage from 20 years of exploitation. They brought technology to clean polluted water, equipment to restore damaged land, medicine to help traumatize people, but they did not take over. They advised. They suggested. They let the Zephyrins make the decisions. Lieutenant Amy Rogers supervised the installation of a planetary defense system. Basic satellites with sensors and weapons, nothing compared to human military technology, but enough to defend against raiders or small invasion forces. Why give us this? A Zephyrin engineer asked her. These weapons could be used against you someday. Amy shrugged. Maybe, but you deserve the ability to protect yourselves. Besides, if you ever did decide to fight us, these satellites would not help much. We are giving you protection against normal threats, against bullies and pirates. Not against major military powers. You trust us. We trust you to make your own choices, Amy corrected. Good or bad. That is what freedom means. 2 weeks after the Crithian fleet left, Prime Minister Ilara addressed her people. The speech was broadcast across the entire planet. Millions watched and listened. My fellow Zephyrins, she began. For 20 years we have lived under Crithian rule. We told ourselves it was protection. We accepted it because we had no choice. We lost our freedom one piece at a time until we barely remembered what freedom felt like. She paused. Then the humans came. They did not come because we could pay them. They did not come because they wanted our resources. They came because we asked for help, and they helped us. Now the Crithians are gone. Our people are coming home. Our world is ours again. But freedom is not free. It is not easy. We will have to work hard. We will have to make difficult choices. We will have to stand on our own and be responsible for ourselves. That is what it means to be free. The neutral world of Novara Prime had been chosen carefully for the summit.
It belonged to no empire or alliance.
It had no military value. It was simply a beautiful garden world where diplomats could meet on neutral ground. The main conference center was built of white stone that gleamed in the sunlight. Gardens surrounded it on all sides. Fountains provided peaceful background noise. Everything about the place was designed to promote calm discussion. Today, the conference center held more species than had ever gathered in one place before. Every major power in the galaxy had sent representatives. The Crithian Empire was there, the Morthran Confederacy, the Sarian Alliance, the Pellar Coalition, dozens of smaller nations and species, and of course the humans. Ambassador Helen Wright stood before the assembly. She wore her simple dress uniform. No decorations. No fancy robes, just clean military dress in dark blue with white trim. Behind her sat representatives from Earth and from the growing coalition of species who had declared independence with human support. The Zephrons were there. So were the Talons who had rebelled against the Sarian Alliance, the Krivans who had broken free from Morthran control, a dozen small species who had seized their chance for freedom. Distinguished delegates, Helen began. Her voice carried clearly through the chamber. 6 months ago, the United Nations made contact with the galactic community. Our arrival was unexpected. Our methods were perhaps more dramatic than anyone anticipated. Quiet laughter moved through the crowd. Everyone remembered the news. 4 Crithian battlecruisers disabled in minutes. The Zephron liberation, the growing list of species declaring independence under human protection. Since then, we have been asked many times, what do humans want? What are your real intentions? Are you here to conquer us? Helen paused. The answer is simpler than you think. We want peace. We want trade. We want to learn from you and hopefully share what we have learned. Pretty words, Counselor Varric interrupted, standing. But your actions tell a different story. You have dismantled our systems. You have encouraged rebellion. You threaten everything we have built. Your systems were built on exploitation, Helen replied calmly. If that is threatened, then yes, we threaten it. But let us be honest, Counselor. Humanity did not invent imperialism. We did not create slavery or forced labor. We learned all those things from our own history. We spent thousands of years practicing them until we finally understood the cost was too high. She gestured to the assembled delegates. Look around this chamber. How many of your civilizations rule through fear? How many maintain power by force rather than consent? How many species are controlled by stronger neighbors with no voice in their own future? The galaxy requires order, Varric insisted. Someone must maintain stability. Agreed, Helen said, surprising him. But order does not require oppression. Stability does not need exploitation. There is a better way. She activated a holographic display. A document appeared floating in the air where everyone could see it. The United Nations proposes a galactic charter. Every species has the right to determine their own path. No species may be forcibly controlled by another. Disputes will be resolved through talking and negotiation, not warfare. Any species that violates these principles will face action from the entire community. And who enforces this charter? Asked a delegate from the Morthran Confederacy. You, the humans? All of us, Helen replied. The United Nations will contribute ships and resources, but so will everyone else. We propose a galactic defense force, ships and personnel from every member species. Its job is not to conquer, not to control. Its job is to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Humans would dominate such a force, Varric objected. Your military is far more powerful than ours. True, Helen acknowledged. Right now. But we are willing to share technology with species who join the charter. Not weapons at first, but propulsion systems, shield technology, manufacturing techniques. We will help close the gap. The chamber erupted in shocked conversations. Delegates talked urgently to each other. Some looked excited, some looked suspicious, but all looked interested. No powerful species had ever offered to share advanced technology freely before. A delegate from the Sarian Alliance stood. She was tall and thin with silver skin. Why would you give away your advantage? Military superiority is the foundation of power. Because we learned something in our history, Helen replied. Peace is not achieved through domination. It is achieved through partnership. If we keep all the advanced technology, everyone will always fear us, always plot against us. But if we share, if we help each other grow stronger together, then we build something that lasts. She looked at Varric. The Crithian Empire does not have to fall. None of you do. But you must change. You must understand that the age of conquest is over. Join us in building something better. Varric sat down slowly. His expression was impossible to read. The debates went on for 3 days. Arguments filled the chamber. Some species wanted immediate membership. Others were suspicious. A few openly hostile. But slowly, surely, support grew. Species that had been enemies found common ground. Nations that had barely spoken to each other started negotiating together. Captain Jake Morrison watched from the observer gallery. He was there as military liaison. Amy Rogers sat beside him. "Think it will work?" she asked quietly. "Maybe," Morrison replied. "If enough species sign on. If we can actually build this defense force. If we can show them we mean what we say. A lot of ifs. That is how peace always starts, with ifs and maybes and hopes. War is easy. You just shoot until someone surrenders. Peace is hard. You have to build trust. You have to compromise. You have to work together with people you do not even like." Amy smiled. "When did you become a philosopher?" "When I got tired of being a soldier." On the 3rd day the voting began. Species after species came forward to sign the Galactic Charter. The Zephrins signed immediately. The Talons, the Crevens, smaller nations joined quickly. Then medium powers. The Peller Coalition signed after long internal debate. The Morthran Confederacy signed with reservations but signed nonetheless. Finally, Councillor Varric stood. The chamber fell silent. Everyone waited. The Crithian Empire was the largest power opposing the charter. If they refused to sign, others might follow their lead. "The Crithian Empire has ruled this galaxy for 300 years, Varric began. His voice was heavy, tired. "We have known only one way to maintain order. Through strength. Through control. We believed this was the only way," he paused. "The humans have shown us we were wrong. Not through words. Through actions. They could have destroyed our fleets. They could have invaded our worlds. They had the power, but they chose restraint. They chose negotiation. They chose to offer partnership instead of demanding surrender." Varric looked directly at Helen. "My people fought humans once. We lost quickly and completely. We have no desire to fight them again. But more than that, we have no desire to be what we have been. If partnership is the price of survival, we will partner. If change is necessary to thrive, we will change." The Crithian Empire signs this charter. The chamber erupted in applause. Species that had been enemies for centuries stood and cheered together. It was not perfect. It was not the end of all conflict. But it was a beginning. Helen felt tears in her eyes but did not wipe them away. This was why they had come to the stars. Not for conquest. Not for glory, for this. For the chance to help build something better. That evening, after the formal ceremonies, Helen found herself in a garden with Councillor Varric. They stood watching the sunset in silence for a while. "You must be pleased," Varric said finally. "You reshaped the galaxy in 6 months." "I am relieved," Helen replied. "I was afraid we would have to fight you, that we would have to destroy what you built. I am glad it did not come to that. You would have, though. If necessary, yes, we would have, because some things are worth fighting for. Freedom, justice, the right of all beings to control their own lives. We would have fought for that. We have fought for that. Many times in our history." Varric nodded slowly. "I am beginning to understand humans. You are not peaceful because you are weak. You are peaceful because you know the true cost of war. You have seen it. You have lived it. And you have decided to be better than your past." "That is the hope," Helen said. "Every day we try to be better than we were yesterday. Sometimes we fail. Sometimes we make mistakes. But we keep trying." "What happens now?" Varric asked. "After the charter is signed, after the ceremonies end, what comes next?" "The hard part," Helen admitted. "Building the defense force. Creating fair trade agreements. Helping species develop. Dealing with the 100 small crises that will come up. But we will do it together. All of us. That is the point of the charter. We face the future together." Varric was quiet for a long moment. Then he said something that surprised Helen. "I have spent my entire life serving the Empire, believing we were right. Believing our way was the only way. You have shown me I was wrong. That is not an easy thing to accept." "No one is asking you to forget your past," Helen said gently. "Just to learn from it. Use what you learned to build a better future. That is all any of us can do. The other counselors still do not trust you. They think this is a trick. that you will use the charter to control us in ways we do not see yet. 3 years had passed since the Galactic Summit. 3 years since 47 species signed the Galactic Charter. 3 years since the galaxy changed forever. The changes had not been easy. There had been conflicts, arguments, small wars that needed to be stopped. Pirates who thought the old empires were weak now. Criminal organizations trying to take advantage of the transition. But slowly, surely, the new order was taking hold. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UNS Valiant. The ship looked the same from the outside. Same dark gray hull, same aggressive design, same powerful weapons. But inside, things were different. His crew was no longer entirely human. Lieutenant Amy Rogers still served as his tactical officer, but now she worked with a Zephyrin named Kale. Engineering was run by a Morthrin named Torque, who had proven to be brilliant with fusion reactors. Even a Krithian officer named Sirath served on board, handling communications with skill that impressed everyone. "Captain, we are receiving a distress call," Amy reported. "The Vortian Collective is raiding Pelian colonies on the Outer Rim." Morrison nodded. The Vortians were a problem. They had refused to sign the charter. They believed in the old ways, taking what you wanted by force. They had been causing trouble for months now. "Set course for the Outer Rim, and send a message to the Krithian Fourth Fleet. They are closest to that sector. We will meet them there." "Working with Krithians now," Amy said with a slight smile. "Strange how things change." "Not strange," Morrison replied. "Necessary. The galaxy is huge, full of threats. We need each other. All of us." Sarath looked up from his communication station. "Captain, the Krithian fleet acknowledges. They are moving to intercept. Fleet Commander Vex sends his regards and says he looks forward to working with you again." Morrison smiled. "Tell him the feeling is mutual. And tell him we will buy the drinks after this is done." "Drinks, Captain?" "Old Earth tradition. When soldiers fight together, they drink together afterward. Helps build bonds." Sarath looked uncertain but nodded. "I will relay the message." The Valiant jumped to faster than light travel. Within hours, they arrived at the Pelian colonies. The scene was bad. 3 Vortian cruisers were bombarding settlements from orbit. Fires burned on the surface. Escape pods drifted in space from destroyed defensive satellites. People were dying down there. "Vortian ships, this is Captain Morrison of the Galactic Defense Force. Cease fire immediately and withdraw. You have one chance to comply." The Vortian commander laughed over the communication channel. "Galactic Defense Force, what a joke. You cannot enforce your precious charter here. These colonies are undefended. They are ours for the taking." "Wrong answer," Morrison said quietly. "Amy, disable their weapons. Sarath, tell the Krithian fleet we are engaging. Tell them to catch any ships that try to run." The Valiant opened fire. Railgun slugs crossed the distance in seconds. The first Vortian cruiser lost all forward weapons. The second tried to turn and run, but the Valiant was faster. Another salvo destroyed its engines. The third cruiser got off a few shots that bounced harmlessly off the Valiant's shields before it too was crippled. Moments later, the Krithian Fourth Fleet arrived. 12 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. Fleet Commander Vex's voice came over the channel. "Captain Morrison, it seems you have handled the situation already. Impressive as always. There is still cleanup to do, Commander. Can your ship secure the disabled Vortian vessels while we check on the colonies?" "Of course. It will be our pleasure." The Krithian ships moved to surround the crippled Vortian cruisers. Marines were sent over to take the crews into custody. Meanwhile, the Valiant moved into low orbit over the largest colony. Morrison opened a channel to the surface. "This is Captain Morrison of the GDF. The threat has been neutralized. Medical teams are on their way down. What is your status?" A shaking voice responded. "We have casualties. Many casualties. But we are alive." "Thank you. Thank you so much. Help is coming. Hang on." Medical shuttles launched from both the Valiant and the Krithian ships. Human doctors and Krithian medics worked side by side to treat the wounded. Engineers from both fleets helped put out fires and restore power. Species that had been enemies 3 years ago were now partners in rescue and relief. Morrison watched from the bridge. Torque, the Morthrin engineer, appeared beside him. "It is strange, is it not, Captain?" "What is strange?" "All of this. Humans and Krithians working together. Morthrin and Zephyrin serving on the same crew. 3 years ago, we would have been shooting at each other. Now we are saving lives together. Morrison nodded. That is what the charter was meant to create. Not just peace, but actual cooperation, working together for common goals. Do you think it will last? After you humans are gone? After your fleets are not watching over everything? I hope so, Morrison said. But honestly, I do not know. Peace is fragile. It requires constant work, constant vigilance. The moment people stop working at it, it starts to fall apart. Then we must work at it, Torque said firmly. Those of us who remember the old ways, we must make sure the new generation never goes back to them. Down on the planet's surface, a Pelian mother held her injured child while a human doctor worked. Beside the doctor, a Crithian medic handed over supplies. Neither of them spoke, but they moved together with practiced efficiency. They had worked together before. They would work together again. In a refugee center, Zephyron aid workers distributed food and water. A Morthran engineer helped repair damaged shelters. They were all volunteers. All members of the Galactic Relief Corps that had been formed as part of the charter. Different species, different worlds, but united in the desire to help. This was the new galaxy. Not perfect, not free of conflict, but better. Slowly, steadily getting better. 2 weeks later, Morrison attended a formal ceremony on Novara Prime. The Galactic Council was meeting to review the charter's progress. Representatives from all member species gathered in the same chamber where the charter had been signed 3 years ago. Ambassador Helen Wright stood to give her report. She looked older now. The stress of building a new galactic order had taken its toll. But her voice was still strong, still confident. 3 years ago, we came together to try something new, to build a galaxy based on cooperation rather than conquest. I am pleased to report that we have succeeded beyond my expectations. She activated a holographic display. 47 species signed the original charter. Today, 73 species are members. The Galactic Defense Force consists of 360 warships from 20 different species. We have responded to 42 crises, stopped 11 wars before they started, protected countless innocent lives. Trade between member species has increased by 200%. Medical cooperation has led to cures for diseases that plagued individual species for centuries. Educational exchanges have enriched all our cultures. This is what we hoped for. This is what we fought for. Counselor Varric stood. He was older too. The last 3 years had been hard on the Crithians. They had to completely restructure their society, give up control of dozens of worlds, accept that they were no longer the dominant power. But they had survived. They had adapted. The Crithian Empire wishes to formally acknowledge the success of the charter, Varric said. 3 years ago we signed reluctantly, out of fear more than hope. Today we sign with genuine belief. This system works. It is better than what we had before. We commit ourselves fully to its continuation. Applause filled the chamber. Other species stood to give similar endorsements. Not everyone was happy. Some felt the charter did not go far enough. Others felt it went too far. But most agreed it was working. After the ceremony, Morrison found himself in a garden with Helen and Varric. The same garden where Helen and Varric had talked 3 years before. You must be pleased, Ambassador, Varric said. Your dream has become reality. Our dream, Helen corrected. This belongs to all of us now. Humans did not build this alone. We just started the process. Everyone else made it real. Still, Varric insisted, without human intervention, the Zephyrins would still be slaves. The Talons would still be oppressed. Dozens of species would still live under Imperial domination. You changed everything, Morrison spoke up. We did what we thought was right. What we had to do, but the real heroes are people like you, Counselor. You could have fought us. Your empire could have chosen war. Instead, you chose change. That took real courage. Varric made a sound that might have been laughter. Courage. That is one word for it. Many of my people would use different words. Cowardice. Surrender. Weakness. How many of your people are alive because of your choice? Helen asked. How many Crithian soldiers did not die in a war you could not win? That is not weakness, Counselor. That is wisdom. They stood in silence for a while, watching the sun set over the garden. 3 beings from 3 different worlds. Once enemies, now something like friends. What happens next? Varric asked. The charter is established. The systems are working. What is the next great challenge? Keeping it going, Morrison said. Making sure the next generation values what we built. Teaching them why we made these choices. The hardest part of peace is maintaining it. Anyone can start a war. Building a lasting peace takes work from everyone, forever. Forever is a long time, Varric observed.